Eliza Moss, a radio play by Dave Patchett. It is 1978, 10 a.m. in the sleepy village of Little Whitnam. We are in the cottage where the 17-year-old Eliza, an only child, lives with her parents. Her parents have called her down from her room. They have something to tell her.
Liz, our dearest darling daughter, it's about how you came to us.
Thought you'd done that when I was 10.
Listen to your mother, love. This isn't birds and bees talk.
No, this is, well, sort of biblical. It's more as if God himself brought you to us.
Himself? Or herself? Or itself? Or no such self? Describe God.
You know that we can't. Only that something created everything.
Including me?
Yes.
Out of mud? What? It's in the Bible.
Eliza, we've waited 17 years to tell you this story. At this rate, we won't even get through the opening passage. So please, Liz, for the peace of mind of your father and me, can you refrain from interrupting until we finish?
Certainly, I promise. Uncle Ron's taking me up to the clumps later this morning to fly his new model glider, so I can barely wait until you've, finished.
Dan.
Dad, I told you about it on Wednesday.
You did. Sorry, Sheila. I forgot to tell you, and didn't put this with that on the same this morning, in my mind.
Muddled as it is. No, we're not putting this off any longer. Uncle Ron or not, it's time to get this over with. Israel?
It was 1961, a hot summer's day near Pangbourne, on the Medland side of the Thames. Sitting on the bank were two young men. They were fishing.
Was there any mud on the bank of the river? Oops, sorry.
When I say hot, I mean boiling. The kind of heat that makes brains stultify. The kind that makes every human muscle refuse to engage. And the fish wallow in the deep with no appetite whatsoever. Even the river itself could scarcely shift. The two men just sat there, watching their floats float.
Dearest Israel, too much unnecessary detail. A white swan-shaped wicker basket floated by. The younger of the two men saw it first and cast his line out to catch it and reel it in. The elder man protested at this waste of energy, to no avail. A white crochet blanket was covering something. Gingerly, it was pulled away to reveal a baby. It appeared to be happy and paradoxically well cared for. The elder of the two made his case that this spelt trouble for them, that they should put the basket and its contents back in the water and pretend that this was just a weird dream. The younger one was obviously enamoured by the babe, and he now had her nestled in his arms. Smells like pear drops, he said. Then something about taking it to the police station in Pangbourne. This upset his companion, who replied that he would never be believed, that they would be accused of kidnapping or something even worse. Dismissing the stupidity of the other, he quickly gathered his things together and jumped upon his bike.
Left to himself, the younger of the two felt himself to be in a terrible dilemma. He knew that the elder man had experienced the odd nights in a police cell, and that he knew what he was talking about. He gently placed the basket and the baby back in the water.
And that's how you came to us. Oh, like a miracle. We found you that very evening, nestled in the reeds near the bottom of our garden in Long Whitnam.
Long Whitnam?
Yes, we used to live there. We were childless, so nature made us both love you from the moment we saw you. It was natural, and as more time went by, we loved you more. You were the gift that kept giving. We kept you under wraps for a week or so, and then moved to Little Whitnam. With Whitnam clumps between the two villages, they are worlds apart. Here, we were seen as a young married couple with a new baby.
I have many questions.
At this most inconvenient moment, Ron opened the door, flourishing his model glider.
Da 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 da!
Oh, not now, Ron. Israel, carry on. I'll take Uncle Ron out on the lawn. fix him a soft drink, and explain what we're undergoing.
Sheila had a certain authority. Not many had the nerve to argue with her, least of all her husband. When things settled down,
Mum's trying to protect me from something. How do you know all this, Dad? This, Pangborn episode?
Not you, love. It's me she's trying to protect. You see, I was the one who put you back in the water.
And risk drowning a helpless little baby? That doesn't sound like you, Dad.
It wasn't like me, and I didn't take that risk. I walked my bicycle alongside you. I used my rod to pull you closer to the bank, so that you were never far from me. I was very confused, though. Then I saw some other fishermen up ahead, and knew that I had to make a decision, and quickly. So I did. I drew you in and onto dry land yet again. I threw away the basket into a bush and tucked you safely with your blanket around you into my holdall. And then I cycled to Long Whitnam and introduced you to Sheila. There was no debate. Your mum and I decided to look after you.
at this moment Sheila came back into the room.
I'm sorry, Sheila. I had to tell Liz the truth about my involvement.
Good. Oh, it's always the right thing, but sometimes it is best to parcel the truth out in stages, to make it less indigestible.
What about the authorities? My birth certificate, for instance.
Remember when you were 9? When we sent you to stay with your Uncle Ron for a few days? That was when we could first afford to go to London and purchase a forged birth certificate for you. For the same sort of reason, we had sent you to the Steiner School in Abingdon, not just to help you think independently, but also to avoid the form-filling of the state education system.
That's it then. Now please can I go to the clumps with Aaron?
But aren't you shocked?
Of course I'm shocked, but in a good way. Most parents see their children as extensions of themselves. They want them to become what they became or what they wanted to become. They put their children under enormous pressure to pass exams, etc. Unfair, even selfish. But my mum and dad are different. You've loved me because of, paternal instinct or need, it's true. But mainly because you've come to like me. We've all liked each other, year after year. And that's a purer form of love.
Off you go then with your uncle, before I cry with happiness. And get back for dinner at 2.
So off they went through the village. Aaron was not his normal self. He was nervous about what Sheila had told him, about the Pangborn origins of Eliza Moss.
You don't seem to be quite your usual self. Let's go and sit on the bench opposite the post office and talk this through. Now, why the droopy face?
Well, it's shattering, isn't it? I mean, us all keeping this secret all this time and then spilling it all out all of a sudden. And really, it's nothing much to do with me. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Put your plane down.
It's a glider.
Put it down. It's not a teddy bear or a comfort blanket. Right. It's nothing much to do with me. Do I look stupid?
No, you're very bright.
Dad told me his part in the Pangborn play. What about yours?
I don't know what you mean.
The elder of the 2 fishermen has to be you. You're 4 years older than Dad. It was you. Come on, Aaron. I'll find out anyway. Dad can't bear to tell lies. Bet if it comes from you.
Okay. It was me. But it's not like you're thinking. Nothing like it.
Tell me how it really was then. The truth and nothing but the truth.
What did Israel tell you about my part in the incident?
Not much. That you didn't want to get involved. That you wanted Dad to put me back in the Thames. That when he didn't, you packed your bags and scurried away on your bike.
Well, that was true, but not far. I wheeled around and hid behind a hedgerow and watched. I saw my brother put you back in the basket and then set you afloat. I couldn't believe he did that. Crazy. I was about to intervene when he tugged you back to the shore, wrapped you up and put you in his bag and got on his bike. I knew then that you'd be all right. I saw other things too.
Other things?
A girl.
Are you the father? I mean, are you my father?
What makes you think that?
Well, it all adds up. Everyone knows it used to be a bit of a lad. The elder fisherman didn't want to know, then you had to know. Why the to and throw in, the mixed feelings? It can only be that you had a personal investment in me, and you have maintained that personal investment to this day. You've gone out of your way to brighten my life, taking me out on all our jaunts and adventures. And now you mention a girl. I'm guessing my biological mother? One last thing. When I was a very small child, Mum and Dad were wary of you. It took you ages to get into their good books. If you're the father, then, well, it all makes perfect sense.
I can't tell you the whole truth unless you promise not to tell Sheila and Israel. There's so much more that they don't know. There could be, harmful consequences.
I can't make that promise. I won't be held hostage to a labyrinth of secrets. I believe in the freedom to speak the truth. But I will promise that anything I reveal will be in such a way that it won't break up the friendship that binds all four of us.
I don't really know how you can do whatever it was that you just said. Oh, you're too deep for me. But I trust in you. I'll tell you everything. The only other person I've told everything to is my wife, and she forgave me, eventually. So perhaps it'll turn out okay.
The girl?
The girl, well, there were two girls, really. See, I was coming back from Cowley on the bus and found myself sitting next to a girl. I got chatting with her and ended up by asking her out for a date.
Did you tell her about Eileen and Cynthia and Daisy?
Not then. The next Friday, I came home from work and asked Eileen if she'd mind if I had a Friday night out. I said I wanted to go to an Oxford do, a wedding anniversary for a friend at work. I was lying. I got dressed up in the same black suit and tie that I married Eileen in. I know this sounds terrible, but I was still a young idiot. I got to Oxford and met the woman I made the date with. I can't even remember her name. We went to a pub, I got her a drink, and we started talking. She asked me some questions about myself. I tripped myself up with more lies, and for once told the truth. About me being married, whereupon she stormed out on me. I finished my drink, and then hers. I felt pretty stupid. I left the pub and found myself wandering aimlessly around Oxford.
Well, I'll tick her off the list then.
What list? Yeah. Then I saw these students, I suppose, gathering together outside the double doors of a grand kind of big house. The ladies wore white frilly dresses and accessories galore, bracelets, charms, and fancy handbags, and strangely, feathers in their hair. Oh, they looked beautiful. The men were wearing black suits. Some had bow ties, but not all. Some had ties like mine, and they all had white flowers, carnations, I suppose, in their buttonholes. Then I noticed similar flowers over a low garden wall within my reach. I took this as a sign. You may not know this about me, Liz, but at the time I was flirting with an amateur drama group in Didcot. So I put on a la-di-da accent and gate-crashed the party. Well, to cut a long story short.
If you could, when you get going, you're as over-descriptive as Dad. Well, my other dad, that is.
I went inside, had a few drinks, and carried on acting. A girl approached me, grabbed hold of my tie and said, "You're mine." She dragged me off to a bedroom and started taking her clothes off. Then she started on mine. All the time I was protesting, "Oh, I gate-crashed the party. Oh, I guessed that. Rough hands. I like that. But I'm married with 2 kids. Experience too then. I like that even more." She started kissing me and that was it.
Do you remember her name?
Remember it? Oh, I'll never forget it.
Oh, so it wasn't just a one-night stand then?
In a way it was, sex-wise. We exchanged numbers, and I would have thought no more about it. But when I got home, I felt terrible. I couldn't act naturally around Eileen, and after a few days she confronted me and I blurted out a miserable confession.
And then a month or so later, the girl rang you to say that she was pregnant.
She did, and she continued to ring almost every day. If Eileen answered, it made no difference. It was how she loved me, and what a beautiful baby we were going to have. It was like a needle slipping on a record, all the way up to Pangbourne. The day before, she told me about our baby girl and asked me to go and visit my daughter. I said I can't, that I'd arranged to go fishing near Pangbourne with my brother.
She? Can you tell me her name?
Oh, I don't want to give you her name.
She is my mother.
She's obsessive, dangerously.
Tell me all you know about her.
She was an art student from a high-born family. On the phone, she kept on about the good life I would have, if only I would leave my wife. She even got her parents involved, ringing me up and Eileen too, with the same sort of thing. Oh, it added up to virtual bribery.
From their perspective, wouldn't abortion have been a practical solution?
Never a mention of it. Perhaps they are strict Catholics. They obviously thought that their money could buy anything. When they realised it couldn't, it was too late anyway. That's about all I know. After she sent you down the Thames, her problem was seemingly resolved. Fixed by her early example of performance art. After which, she disappeared from the scene. I never heard from her or hers again.
Her name?
Oh, she's probably changed it by now. But for what it's worth, Marion. Marion Reynolds.
Can I have the first vote?
I don't understand. You're going to decide something by the throw of a dice?
No, silly. The throw of the guider.
Oh, you can. Let's face it, you've got a better throwing arm than most men, including me. How come you've taken all this so well?
That's easy. Some teenagers have 2 parents, some just 1, and the odd one none at all. I'm lucky, I have 3. So far.
One was returned to his normal self, and the 2 of them happily climbed up to the top of Whitnam Clumps and prepared for the first throw. Almost a month has gone by. Relieved of the burden that secrets compress upon a family, the Mosses were getting along famously. Who would put that at risk? Who could be brave enough, if not Eliza Moss? We find ourselves in the rarefied air of Windsor, feeling out of our depth, perhaps, or perhaps not. There is a good-looking house here, and the door is being knocked by a stranger, both to the house, its occupant, and to Windsor.
Yes? What do you want? I'm very busy at present.
I'm the Black Swan.
What? I haven't got time for this nonsense.
I'm Eliza Moss, and you are my mother.
Oh, I suppose I always knew that this day might come. You had better come in. Sit there. No, not there. There. I need to sit down too. But first I need a strong drink. Brandy. You too, perhaps?
I'm fine, thanks.
I'm in something of a state. Shock. I need a cigarette. Do you smoke?
No.
My goodness, what's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Rhetorical, my question. I have a feeling that the real questions are going to come from you. But in the meantime, how did you find me?
It wasn't hard. I knew that you were unlikely to change your surname, Reynolds being one of the 13 illuminated families. It opens many doors. Wallingford has a well-stocked library. I looked up contemporary British artists, and there you were. Jossibed Reynolds. Jossibed, the woman who adopted Moses. Something of a role reversal, but at least it showed that you'd been thinking of me. There were illustrations of your paintings, and all of them featured white swans. 2 clues generally rules out coincidence.
Good God. You speak well for one so young. Where were you educated?
The Steiner School in Abingdon.
Never heard of it.
Then I looked up your address in the Artist and Writer's Yearbook. Windsor, still on Thames, still with the swans. So here I am.
Look, dear, before you make the obvious condemnations, I'm not going to get down on my knees and ask for forgiveness, or supplicate myself in any way. You were never in danger. The Swan was waterproofed with acrylic gel and tested thoroughly. I was but 70 yards upriver from Aaron and his brother, and watching you like a hawk. I even had a motorboat at hand, in case anything went wrong. I simply had to pass on the accountability, responsibility to the father. I felt that my whole life was at stake.
Your whole life? And what has that been? Where did your life go since Pangboyne?
Freedom from a mother's responsibilities meant that I could reclaim my ambition, and Mummy and Daddy's ambitions for me. With their help and other influential friends, I moved to Windsor and was accepted at the Slade. I became good friends with Anthony Gormley, and the art world opened up for me. That's enough about me. What do you think about my paintings?
So many white swans.
That was a joke.
I know, Mae West, wasn't it? But I'm very interested in the swans.
At Oxford, I belonged to a female fraternity, the White Swans.
I see. On the night you met Aaron, all the young ladies were dressed as white swans.
Sort of. It was the fraternity's annual party.
And the men in their black suits.
The men, they were the equivalent of American jocks. The finest physical specimens. Most of them were members of the university rugby squad. As for the suits, we had certain standards. We insisted on some kind of dress code.
Sounds like a posh version of a hen night.
What was that? Did you say hen night? What on earth is that?
Are you still in this fraternity?
Goodness no. We all left that sort of thing behind when we left Oxford.
So why the white swans?
I had done the logos for the fraternity pamphlets and magazines. It was my first paid work. I got good at swans. Then the Pangboyne solution came to me, and yes, white swans became something of an obsession. At the Slade, the tutors encouraged obsession. Confidentially, I am not much good at drawing anything else. The thing is, they are damned popular. They don't ruffle any feathers. And now they sell for thousands, and I cannot paint enough of them.
I'm disappointed. You seem to belong to the Stuckist School of Art.
I'm a little disappointed too. With you. Perhaps, like others, you envy my success. But again, enough about me. What have you managed to achieve so far?
I held the school record for the javelin.
But you're only average-sized.
I was considered an extremely bright student.
I'll grant you that. How old are you? No, don't tell me. You're only just 17, but you speak like a mature adult.
I play cricket for Brightwell cum Sotwell. I'm the only girl. I open the bowling and bat at number 5.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I suppose you're at college now?
No, I left school and began work.
Really? What kind of work?
At the Thames Valley egg packing station down the road from my house. Oh, sorry, you probably don't know. I ended up with Israel and Sheila as my parents.
Good heavens. Who would have thought it? What do you do with the eggs?
I started off with a row of ladies, taking the eggs from the conveyor belt and filling the egg packets. Not too exciting. So I applied for the chance of being a driver's mate. It's tremendous. We go out to all the farms collecting the crates of eggs. What with the country air and farm smells and larking about and joking with the farm workers. It's such fun. At lunchtime we go to the truck driver's cafe and have a slap-up breakfast. And I get on great with all the drivers.
Too much detail.
Sorry, it's a family trait. Anyway, I love my work. I want you to know that. What you did worked out very well for me. You could have, got rid of... back with eggs again. The point is, I'm happy.
I can see that. Boyfriends?
I have appetites, but not yet. I'm looking for goodness combined with an independent intelligence and an open and developing mind. The combination seems to be in short supply. What about you?
After Anthony, I suppose I coupled up only to promote my career. Naturally, I avoided pregnancy like the plague. Cold as it sounds, I find the men in my world pretty much insufferable, just for the use of. You may not believe this, and I would not blame you. I do not tell the truth very often. But Aaron was the best lover I ever had. Does one night qualify him as a lover? My goodness, time has flown. I really have to show you to the door.
At the door, Marion wished Eliza a good life and asked if she could kiss her daughter on the cheek, and Liz had no problem with the idea.
Pear drops.
My perfume. Do you like it?
Something to remember you by.
Here, take my card. Will you ever visit me again?
I never close doors.
Marion closed the door, and this rather separated reunion was locked, both inside and outside, in the memories of the participants. Marion thrust aside a feeling of loneliness, picked up a paintbrush, and got stuck into her stockism. Elizabeth Moss returned to the west side of the Thames Valley. Eliza Moss, remember that name. As you can see from this story, she's bound to make her mark in some way. Perhaps she will become a famous novelist, poet, or actress. Or who knows, the world's best female darts player. The possibilities are endless. And then again, she may reject ambition and settle for a heralded reputation in her own community and district, in which case forget her name, Eliza Moss. Sheila Moss was played by Helen Bridgewater, Aaron or Ron Moss by Matt Reynolds, Eliza Moss by Linda O'Sullivan, Marion Reynolds by Irene Cunningham, Israel Moss by Guy Dixon, narration and credits by Matthew Shelton Jones. The sound engineer was Stuart Conway, the editing and sound effects by Adam House Music.